The Peabody Essex Museum, a historical landmark like no other, by Julia O'Reilly. Located in Salem, Massachusetts, the Peabody Essex Museum is the oldest continuously operating museum in the world. Founded in 1799 by the East Indian Marine Hall, it contains over 10 exhibits that portray the histories of cultures ranging from Africa to China to the United States. The Peabody Essex Museum contains artifacts that tell the story of how America developed as a country, as well as their many advances in technology. One exhibit that tends to draw the eye of visitors is the Yin Yu Tang House, a literal piece of Chinese history, having been moved from the country itself. The Yin Yu Tang House was first built as part of the Qing dynasty in China, which lasted from 1644 to 1911. Located in the Inhui province, the Yin Yu Tang House was built with 16 bedrooms using the traditional feng shui method in order to ensure a pleasant relationship with its surrounding landscape. Eventually, after the Qing dynasty ended in 1911, the Yin Yu Tang House was to be preserved, and in order to do that, architects tore down the house piece by piece and literally reconstructed the entire thing according to design here in Salem, Massachusetts. The process took 7 years to reconstruct, but it is still an important part of American history because of it. Written on the Waves, Shipboard Logbooks and Journals, an exhibit involving American history, describes as a whole both the social and political influences the Peabody Essex Museum had on America's development. A perfect example is the documents themselves. The journal entries represent the social impact because of the stories told by many sea captains who tell of their amazing voyages around the world. The women, on the other hand, contributed socially by leaving behind artifacts like jewelry or lockets, as well as books containing their family histories. These were brought aboard by the men, some of which never returned. Politically, the logbooks reveal the tracings of sea voyages leading back to over 200 years ago. Without these artifacts, anything that happened on those ships would be known only through oral tradition, and we would have no written proof of the lives of the sailors and their life-changing discoveries on the water. The world-famous Man Ray and Lee Miller exhibit is one of the museum's most visited collections. It is a classic love story of ancient Europe where the apprentice falls for her superior. Lee Miller was a model and photojournalist when she was first introduced to Man Ray in Paris, France. At first, she was just his assistant, but very quickly they fell in love in the 1920s. Eventually, Lee Miller broke up their intense relationship in 1932. Man Ray was so distraught, yet he took out his emotions on his artwork. Lee Miller then documented World War II, but became an alcoholic and entered a huge depression after capturing the images of battle in both her camera and her eyes. What's unique about Lee Miller is that after she died, we found out she preferred to keep her work a secret, and her own son didn't even know she was a photojournalist until he discovered all her pieces later in their old barn. Had nobody uncovered the photographs Lee Miller had taken, the love story of Lee Miller and Man Ray would not be such a huge part of American history because they both contributed art that also helped to understand the transformation of our country over the past few centuries. Just as America found a connection with China, we also share some of our culture with the Native Americans, as shown in the Native American Art Wing. The Native Americans lived in this country before any of the settlers, and they helped to provide many artifacts of their time. One artifact in particular is the one-of-a-kind crown of the Incan dance. The exhibit in the Peabody Essex Museum contains over 70 different pieces, aging from centuries back. It is broken down to 3 different sections: metaphor and identity, icons and politics, and continuity and innovation. Metaphor and identity focus on the works formed from both the supernatural and natural areas of life. Icons and politics focus on the question, what does it mean to be Native American, and anything that can be interpreted as Indian works. And finally, continuity and innovation focus on the genuineness and unique aspects of Native American art. If America had never discovered the workings of this country's original host, there would be no story of what life was like before colonists arrived from Europe, and we would have nothing to learn from for the future. American history depends on every trace of history in existence, and the Peabody Essex Museum in Salem, Massachusetts holds the many keys to that history.